Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. It is Saturday. Who's excited for Saturday? It's going to be one heck of a weekend. I know a lot of people out there, this is a big weekend. Some of you guys out there are like, football's dead to me. The rest of us that have nothing to do with football are happy because it's the best commercials that these guys can come up with are going to be on tonight, which I'm pretty excited about. Staying as far away from YouTube because I know a lot of people like to put up their commercials early, which is like dumb because you're paying millions of dollars to be on. So why would you want to pre-release them? Just seems stupid. Yes, Fernando is still out sick. He came in this morning and I was like, turned him around. I didn't touch him. I was like, just go home, please, for the love of God, go home. He's like just standing there. I'm like, dude, just go home. So he can go off and do his thing. Soccer is life. Football is life. But yeah, so that's what's going on. So, hey, guys. Hello from Texas. Yay, Saturday. I'm excited. I really am. We were gone the first part of the week, got home Monday, slept until Tuesday, and then went back to work. And my girls left Friday. So I really haven't had a chance to see anyone. So it'll be nice to sit home tomorrow, watch some football together. And yeah, busy as hell today. I'm sure, man. I bet, pre-football party pizzas. But the most popular today has been pepperoni and onion. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could do pepperoni and onion. I'm more of a ham and onion kind of guy. That's literally what I order is ham and onion, light sauce. So I mean, I could see where pepperoni, but I'm just not a big pepperoni. Evening. How are you? Dean, did you see Chris Pate's post? He's in the hospital code. Yeah, I did, and I actually talked with Nalika from Orca last night, and he was kind of going off the list of a lot of people. And then I talked to my buddy Marty Adams-Check from Canada, and he was having a really bad time. Apparently, my buddy Phil from Automobility isn't having a good time. But the list is long, and hopefully Mike got through it. What's up, Mike? How's everybody doing? Car gift in the house. What has happened from Portugal? When installing car alarms and you need to tap into the wire, is the solder method better or use a T-tap? So the reality is don't use a T-tap. The reason why is T-tap stands for temporary tap. A T-tap is designed to cut through the shield. Okay, this has nothing to do with it any time you're using one. It's designed to cut through the shield and get to the wire inside. The problem is that most of these cars wiring is getting super thin, and there's sometimes like 5 or 6 pieces in there, and you don't want to cut one of them because that would be bad, right? So I prefer to use the military splice, which is to slide the sheathing apart to expose the wire, and then open it up like threading a needle, put it in, wrap it around nice and tight. There again, solder is a funny one because depending on the type of wire that you're using, some of these wires you don't want to put heat to, okay? So if you're working up in the ignition area and it's one of these microfine dental floss wires, you're probably not going to want to put heat to it because that soldering would do, because soldering is going to heat and it's going to go all the way up, which could be bad for the module itself. So I don't recommend that. Now the problem is like getting this wire separated can be a pain in the butt. Very sharp razor knife, very carefully is a good way to go. If the wire is small enough, sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually just take my torch and very quickly just go over it, which will melt the wire, and you can just slide it back with your fingers. Sometimes you can actually just do it with your fingers. If you have sharp fingernails, you can just like slide it back because it is that weak. But never use a T-tap, ever. Never, ever use a T-tap. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been doing this for 30 years. I've put in plenty of alarms using T-taps back in my day. We also had a lot of services. And once we finally switched from using that method to military style splice, it was amazing how like we stopped having issues. Because what'll happen sometimes is like if you use the wrong size T-tap on the wire, sometimes it'll cut it, sometimes it'll be too big. There's just always just a better way. Yeah. So, and trust me, sometimes I'll sit there and go, man, I really wish I had a T-tap because that wire is way up there and it's going to be a bitch to get to. But I just take the time and do it the hard way. So anyways, let me go through these real quick. So this is going to be a fun show. So bear with me, guys, because I don't think I've, other than Instagram and even still then Fernando's here, I don't think I've ever done this show. We tried to do it a couple weeks ago when Brian was late. It was really tough. Mike says, I'm heading to Best Buy to pick the adapter. I can't remember the part that I need. All right, so. Mike is talking about he just recently got himself an IRTA, and he's going to go to this Best Buy. Let's see if it'll focus. Let's see if it'll focus on that. There we go. Oh, it's so close. Lightning to, there we go. Lightning to headphone jack, Mike. This is what you're looking for right here. This is the lightning to headphone jack adapter because you have an older iPod device. And if you have a newer iPod device, we're not even going to struggle with that one. This is a lightning. This is a headphone jack to USB-C, but you want the lightning. So it's a little white box like this. It'll be hanging on the shelf. Costs about $10. There you go. Yep, I know it's 4. Hey, Dean. Fernando's not here. Yeah, so sad. So sad. But I will try to get through all your questions. Yes, the resistance may cause strange things. Definitely will cause strange things. I mean, there again. The idea behind a T-tap was so that, you could quickly test something and then remove it. It's just with the way things are now. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Car gift right there. Dean's process is best for alarms. And that is why I don't do alarms anymore, because they're just a pain in the butt. When using an amp with variable bass boost, what do you set it at? Okay. I'm a big fan of bass boost built into an amplifier. Okay. So like Rockford has the punch bass. Love it. I find it to be exciting because it's like a one-band EQ. Usually it's fixed. Some amplifiers will actually give you the variable band with parametric, which is cool because then you get to have some fun with it. I feel moving forward that more and more manufacturers are going to need to start putting EQs in their mono amplifiers because like we're running into issues that we need to be able to fix, like bass just not being there. High pass. Did a car today that actually had the craziest dynamic. You guys would call it bass roll off. This was totally different because bass roll off is usually volume. This was engaging a high pass filter. So as you turned it up, it would remove the bass entirely. Like it wouldn't just roll off. It would go away. It was like, holy shit. How do you fix that? Because you need some form of dynamic crossover with bass boost built back into it, which some of the better amplifiers can actually do, which is kind of cool. But I like it. Where do I set it? So it's a balance between gain and bass boost because there again, when you're adding any form of boost, you have to cut something. So you're going to have to remove some of the gain. So, if you get in there and you're like, it's best to set this up before you start worrying about where your gain needs to be. So, listen to it, find out, how boomy do I want it? How fat do I want it? Whatever acronym you want to use. Not acronym, whatever adjective you want to use. There we go. I hate acronyms. Anyways, and then start bringing up your gain because if you set your gain first and then go to adjust your bass boost, you're going to whack that. It's going to be all whacked out. So adjust it to where you think it sounds good, turn it up, and then start adding gain at that point. And then, you can if you want more boom, turn the gain down. So it's like you have to work those two knobs at the same time. So the Super Bowl isn't until tomorrow. So we're almost there. I'm hoping it'll be fantastic. What can use popping noise when I turn my car on? I got 2 amps and an epicenter. So Metro makes a piece for adjusting the time on, it's for turn on, turn off delay. We've done a video on it. I would suggest just going in the playlist and searching Metro. I don't remember what it's called. We need to hang it right here because you guys ask about it so much and we just keep forgetting what the 4-part model number is. But it allows you to add in delay for your amplifier. So turn on delay as well as turn off delay. Because sometimes like when you turn on the car, that current coming in causes a turn on pop. Sometimes it's just crappy equipment, but again, don't know. But adding a 2 or 3 second delay so that everything has time to catch up is not a bad idea. But yeah, Metro does make a piece for that. All right. Thought it was yesterday. That's why I couldn't find anything online. Yeah, hey, it's a different thing for sure. What's up, Ada? How's it going? How are you? How's your weekend going? I'm going to try to get back through some of these. Let's go here. Does the on-screen parking brake bypass work on the Pioneer? Whatever. I read on forums, it doesn't work on those models. Does the on-screen? So it should. If it has a GPS antenna, it should be the 10 seconds here, 10 seconds here, and then it goes away. We've done some of the newer radios, and it's worked. I haven't done the 57, but a 57 is an older version of it. So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. Yeah, but it has to be precise. Like Fernando he's like, can't get it. Get in there. I mean, I literally hold my phone and watch it and then do it, and it works. So give it a try. I mean, don't if you don't get in one, don't worry, try it again. Good morning. I'm using an aftermarket head unit to a kicker key 200.1. Okay. Can I use the DC offset for remote turn on? Yes. So kicker keys use Fit2 technology, which is what their cool way of saying DC offset. Their Fit2 looks at for 3.3 volts as well as 6 volts. So it's actually a much better circuit than what most people are using for DC offset. So I've never done a key that has not turned on. So I mean, you'd really have to be bad. Meaning the car would really have to be bad, not necessarily you. Yes. Yeah, he was. And the Greatest American Hero. Dude, you're totally dating yourself. Hi from Ohio. Oh, that was a fun show to watch. It was very stupid. I don't think it would work now. What happens when you start to overpower speakers? Is there anything I should listen for that might be a red flag? I have a D4.800 powering 80 watts RMS rated Kenwood 7-inch door speakers. So remember, the power rating for a speaker is a rating given for whatever the frequency response is. So it's an 80 watt speaker, but you're going to be applying some form of crossover to it, which is going to limit the amount of frequency response that is going to go to it, thus changing the power rating on it because you're no longer using their spec. You've changed it, which is what you're supposed to do, which is why sometimes specs suck. But it's a good place. We have to have them so we can start and kind of understand because, 80 watts is probably really all it's going to handle. However, if you remove some of the low frequency from it, then it will handle more power. This is an interesting question. Like when I go out to demo a car for a person and they'll ask, how loud can I play it? It's like, dude, I can't hear you. You're sitting a foot away from me. How loud do we need it? But the difference between a blown speaker and a non-blown speaker is usually about 2 clicks on the volume knob. Okay, down, not up. What you want to listen for is something that doesn't sound the way it should. Meaning, as you start to listen to your stereo, you should grow accustomed to how it performs, how music sounds. And then when you hear something that is strange, you turn it down. There's no like you have to look for this or you have to be listening for this, because each song is going to be a little bit different, and there's no way to tell what song is overly dynamic or what song has way too much loudness, or what song is going to have like an explosion in the middle of it that's going to create all kinds of weirdness. So it's just learning to understand, or be in one with your system, so to speak, and then you'll turn it down. Need a dash unit upgrade for 2016 Ford Taurus with the small screen radio with Microsoft. I think Metro still makes a kit for that. So metroonline.com would be the place I would start. That's really what you're going to run into right now. It's going to be an expensive kit for sure, for the foreseeable future. Yeah, because what is coming, by the time it does, that car won't even exist anymore. So back to the T-taps. T-taps should all be installed in the trash or just not order at all. I agree. It's funny you say that, because we all evolve, right? We're all supposed to get better. A lot of you guys watch this show and you thank us because you've learned something new, you found a different way. We teach classes on how to do different things, and the whole encouragement behind it. And I go to classes and I have lots of friends, and they'll say things. I'll be, oh crap, that's a neat idea. Part of what we do in our install bay, we learn from other people that do it in the install bay. That's the whole reason why we go to these events, is to talk to people and get ideas and come up with new ways of doing things, or be pushed. Meaning like somebody's, they're catching up, so you then have to be better, something like this. So I was sitting working at my workbench, and right now on my workbench I have a little tiny tray that has basically 3 connectors in it. It has those little yellow 22 gauge butt connectors that you guys always ask where you get them from. I'm working on that. And then I have a male and female red bullet connector. Okay. And that's it. That's the only connectors that really sit on my desk. Everything else is just tubs of shrink wrap or shrink tube, whatever you want to call it. Or I walk over like ring terminals and stuff. I just grab those from the thing. Sometimes I'll have to get speaker terminals. But for the most part, those are the 3 things that I use the most in my life. And I was working on something and I was like, wow, this is so weird. Because I used to have a tray that sat on my desk that had every single connector possible in it. And I would, and we'd use different things, but we've just streamlined the installation process to where a lot of that stuff we don't need anymore and we don't want. And it just makes things easier. It's kind of weird, the evolution of the installation technique. When creating a house curve, do you use a focus on certain frequencies? Also, what frequencies provide an airy sound? So this is one of those subjects that we're going to beat up and down until the cows come home, I think, because the house curve is basically you saying this is how I want every car to sound, right? Speakers are going to I'm not a fan of the specific house curve, so to speak. I have an idea of how I want something to sound just by the characteristics of the speaker. And I'm not necessarily trying to beat the speaker down to perform that way. I want it to be what it is. You buy these expensive speakers, they have certain tonality, certain sound, certain frequency response. They perform a given way, and I want that to happen. Now, sometimes the environment of the car will make things weird, and you need to EQ for that, or you need to EQ for mid-range, tweeter to mid-range, mid-range to mid-bass, transitions and stuff like that. So that all makes sense, okay? And you have to have like an idea of what you're trying to go for. But sometimes it's just like letting the speaker be the speaker, okay, is I don't think is a problem. You know, we'll often, you know, like if we tune differently, like the house curve wise, differently for a Focal as opposed to Morel. They just sound different, okay, and they're going to perform differently. And I want those to, I want it to do what it's supposed to do. Like Morel is not as a Focal. Focal is like, yeah, party. So, you know, we want that to come through because that's cool, right? And speaking of Focal, hey guys, have you been to focal-america.com recently? If you haven't, it's probably time that you do because they have new speakers. The Kevlar is one of the most popular copied speakers on the face of the earth. That yellow cone is so sexy. Is now moved up to the ES165 KX2 or 3E for Evo. So they've done the whole line. Now it's coming with a new tweeter. We have a new mid-range. It's pretty awesome. Definitely want to check it out. They put a lot into, that's for those of you keeping score at home. In the last 6 months, we've gotten, the last year, last year we've gotten 2 new sets of Kevlars. It's pretty cool. And we have the new Kevlar 12-inch shallow mount subwoofer coming very soon. So it ought to be pretty good. Let a Gladen be a Gladen, for sure. I need to get a set of Gladen Pros for Fernando's car because Mike had those and they sounded fantastic. Love Focal, love my Flax. And they're going to have a new Flax shallow 12-inch woofer coming as well. So that was at the show sitting on the shelf. So I had one installed at a pro dealer in a 2008 Yukon, but now the accessory doesn't shut off when I turn off the ignition and open the door. Is there a way to program an aux to get it to turn the accessory off, wrap, shutdown? Okay, so here's the thing that you have to keep in mind about this is a good topic, and I'm assuming we're talking about DC offset, signal sense, anything like that. We're relying on the car to shut off, even if we're using an Amp Pro or an AR. Here's what is happening. When you open and close the vehicle, the radio screen shuts off. The car does not. The car is like a computer and it's powering down. So when you turn the system off and the sound stops going to the amplifier, the DC offset, the 6-volt carrier wave, is still there. There's no sound. And the amplifier sees that because it goes, oh, there's no sound coming. But there's still the DC offset there, or there's still the computer in the car on. So now we have to wait for that to shut off. The thing you have to keep in mind is that it's usually not anything you have to worry about because the system will go into low ampere. It'll go into sleep mode. Essentially, it'll go to its minimum amount of current that the amplifier is going to draw. So like when you're looking at the specs, there's a minimum amount of current it'll draw. And that's basically what happens. If there's nothing coming through the input, the amplifier's power supply is only going to draw a very little amount of current. Now, most of the time, the car, once you shut it and walk away, it should take anywhere between 1 minute to 3 minutes. Sometimes we've seen 5 for the car to totally power down. Now, if you walk back out to the car and open the door or touch the car, do anything like that, it's going to wake it all back up again. Usually, if nothing happens with the ignition, the car will go back to sleep within 1 minute or 30 seconds. Someone pulls on the door handle. If it's got one of those cool things, it'll activate it again. Most cars, the 2008 may have it somewhere. There might be an accessory that is a solid on and off with the car. There are modules that you can buy, like PAC makes a module you can buy that will act differently. Okay, so there's a product called an Ignition 3, ING3, and it'll create an accessory power, but it creates an accessory power only when the car is running, because what it does is it uses your engine voltage to turn it on and off. So when you start up the car, it sees 14 volts, 13 and a half, 14 volts. It creates an accessory, turns everything on. When you shut the ignition off, it'll keep it on for 10 seconds, and then it'll shut off. But it won't work with keys. So you just turn the key on, you'll have no audio. That's one way to do it. The other way is, of course, digging through the car, trying to find some form of accessory. There are data bus readers out there that will just read the data in the car and create an accessory, which is what the factory is doing. So the factory, and there again, it probably won't shut off when you turn off the car because the car isn't off yet. The only thing that's shutting off is the screen and some of the lights. So yeah, you know, cigarette lighters typically don't do it in a GM, but you know, you could, the only way to do that, to figure out that, is to go and sit there and probe every fuse with the doors closed, open the door, and you probably still won't find anything. Kind of sucks. Anyways, all right, here we go. Any video, all right, any video on three-way setup and tune, something without tweeter location, something that you fab, nothing too custom, even the, so no, I don't have any videos like that because everything that we're going to do is going to go into the factory location. We're not really fabbing, exteriorly fabbing visual stuff. All the fab work we do is hidden behind panels that no one ever gets to see. So typically doesn't make it into the video, or those, you know, we don't have any videos on that stuff. Don't some vehicles wake up if you have the key fob near it, like push to start button vehicles? Yes, they do. Some vehicles that have the auto detect, like the Ford that I have, if you're too close if you put the key fob too close to the vehicle, the car will wake up constantly. That is a problem. Some Dodges do that. A lot of Nissans, everything will do that. So yeah, you have to be careful where you put your key fob. Now the problem is the car will actually never really go to sleep, which could kill the battery. But you would know that because usually if it's parked in the garage and your key fob is too close, you'd have a dead battery more frequently than not. So, you know, the only time I really ran into these things is like if somebody hangs their keys in the garage and the car is like 5 feet away, and or they put it on a shelf on a wall that's next to the garage where it's like 5 feet away from the car there. Usually once the key fob gets 10 or 15 feet or a few walls get in the way, then this won't happen, but it can. You're welcome. If I'm running a key 360.4 and 800.1, do I need to bump up my fuse from 100 to 125? Typically, the fuse that's going to go underneath the hood is going to be a whatever the two added together is. So, like in this case, but follow me on this for a minute. So, if, for example, one is 60 and the other one is 60, that's 120 amps of fusing. You typically put 125 amp underneath the hood. Now, if you have 100, okay, more than likely you're never going to blow that fuse, okay, because the fuse rating for that amplifier is at the peak, right? And the fuse that's underneath the hood is only there to protect the wire. It will not protect the amplifiers. It will not protect the amplifiers that are 10 or 15, 20 feet away from it, whatever. You may have a limo. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to protect that wire when it goes through the firewall. So typically you want it to be as small as possible because you want it to blow as fast as possible if something should happen. So if it melts, if you didn't put a grommet on there, if you get in a car accident, if you put the side panel on and you forgot to move the wire out of the way because you did a crappy install, all of those things, that fuse is just there to protect that wire. Okay. On the amplifiers, now those amplifiers don't have, I don't think those amplifiers have external fuses. So you should have a distribution fuse box in the back for them. There's a 99.9% chance that the circuit built into those amplifiers is designed to trip if there's a problem. But so there's a 0.01% chance that it won't. So having an external fuse box in the back for them will prevent the two of them from beating each other up. So that's what that's for. And then Christian says, dang, up to 10 fuse at my battery. Maybe lower to 150. Good call. I mean, isn't your battery in like the trunk of your car, which makes it even worse? Because, I mean, you have to think what's going to short it out, right? But either way, it's a fuse. Hopefully your car won't burn to the ground before the fuse blows, right? I don't see a super chat. Hang on. Oh, I see it. Hold on. Give me a second, Dave. Sorry. Fernando's not here, as you can see, so I missed it. My bad. Thank you, Dave. Okay, Dean. I have a 14 Ford Explorer. Should I move the tweeter and mid up to the pillar, or just leave the tweeter in the door and just put the mid in the pillar? All right. So I can just tell you from my taste, okay? From my taste, I don't really like when the tweeter, like the new Ford Explorer, has the tweeter really close to me, and I don't like it there. I definitely don't like. I want it more forward, just because I think it sounds better when I increase the distance. So if you're going to do it, I would definitely move the tweeter and the mid up into the A pillar, because it's just going to push the soundstage out further. And I don't know. I just like when we do those, I feel kind of confined. Most people don't even notice this. They're like, "Oh, this sounds wonderful," and like, "Yeah, it sounds great." Picky, yeah. So, but given the opportunity, yeah, I would definitely move it as far forward as possible, just for my personal taste. So if you have taste like me, then you're definitely gonna like it. But yeah, yeah. So I would move them both up, tweeter and mid, put them up there, and then you'll be definitely happier. At least I would be. And if you ever want me to listen to your car, I'd be happier if they were both up there. Okay. There we go. All right, guys. First off, I'd like to thank you for dealing with, sticking with me and realizing it's just me today. So Fernando is out sick. He's doing good. He was in this morning just to give you, keep everybody up. We're at that half hour. So he'll be back Monday. So unless things get worse, but he was here today. He was just feeling achy and tired. And so I was like, for the love of God, please just go home. I'll make it through the day without you. Anyways, been comparing Rockford Fosgate before and after getting bought by another company. The T lineup subs have fallen prey to saving the cost measures and having compromised they structure copper coils no more. No. Okay, so no, there's no cutting cost savings or anything like that. That would be an inaccurate statement. So the company that owns Rockford Fosgate really is a hands-off company. And there again, that's a guess, but it's not like we literally spent 5 days with them, and we know everybody there, and we kind of know the roadmap for the future, which is got nothing to do with this. So, by 2025, Rockford is going to be you guys are going to, like, lack of a better term, shit your pants. So just hang on. But there again, the T series woofer in general has never really taken off. Okay. So it's a phenomenal woofer. We had my T3 Christmas tree that sat here, the 19, all through the holidays, which I loved. But it's the line has never really caught on. Like, it's a hard market to get into. It's an impressive woofer, and they put a lot of technology in it, but definitely not the focus point of the brand. But the company that owns them is a very hands-off company. So that. Yes, not using factory locations, to clarify. Yeah. Still moving forward. It'll sound better. What Kenwood double din do you recommend? Anything that has a 9 in it. So any 9 series, there's like 3 in the 9 series, or the floating screen. But if you're just looking for the double din, the 9 series is the one you want. They have a 7, an 8, and then a 9 is the Exelon. They're the best. I mean, it's you get all the features. It's fantastic. It's totally worth it. But What component speakers have a lot of mid bass and good sound, so I didn't need a subwoofer, need a 6.5-inch speaker. Man, if this was a thing, that would be fantastic. But the reality is it's not, because the one thing you have to keep in mind that the speaker manufacturers do is they make subwoofers, and they make subwoofers because they want you to buy subwoofers, and they want their mids to not blow, and they want them to perform, and they want them to produce mid-range, not sub sound. So there's really not a lot of speakers out there that do what you're asking, and those that do are typically very expensive. So the idea of, let's say, trying to find, let's say, the $120 6.5 or $200-300 6.5, it's not going to do that. For the amount of money you'd spend on it to try to get it to do that, you could have easily just done a subwoofer. And I get it. It's like, I don't have room, or I don't want to do that. But no, there's not really a mid-range that's designed to give you bass. They just don't do it. Especially a 6.5. Truck manufacturers go up to the 6x9 because it's more cone area to try to get some of that bass, Dodge. But it's still never a subwoofer. So, anyways. Can 2 channels of Rockford T amp be left unoccupied? I would not do that. I would definitely, no. To try to use all the channels. I don't think that's going to be a good idea. Because there again, it wants to be loaded down. And if you're not going to load the channel down, now you might be able to just put some load resistors on it. I've never tried that, but I don't think they would handle it just because of the amount of power that could possibly come. But then again, you're not going to be running a signal into it, so it's just there to be active. I mean, it might work with load resistors, but I would never do it. It just sounds like a bad idea. Real quick, hey, AudioControl. You guys heard of those guys? AudioControl.com. They have some new products that you guys might be excited about. I know you are, because I am. And that is these guys right here. Space Series loaded sealed enclosures. So we have a 10, we have a 12. Moving down, we have Spike Series loaded enclosures with an 8, 10, and 12. These are all ported boxes. Then we have vehicle specific, that are the Jeeps and the Gladiator that we tested the other day. But we have 5 new preloaded enclosures that are pretty fantastic. We had Matthew and Jeff on right around Christmas time, where they brought one in. We got to take it apart, see what it looked like inside. But if you're interested in a beautiful enclosure speaker that comes with a grill, beautifully built. Hopefully we'll get one in here soon. We can take it apart, show you guys some more about them. But you can find that at AudioControl.com. Thank you very much for the $5. All right, let me do this. All right, let me try to get caught up here. Again, expensive stereo integrity ATS would be another option. Yeah, it's just, the thing is yes, the GB60 is phenomenal. Mid-bass driver. But it's very expensive. And there again, it's a mid-bass driver, not a subwoofer. What's up from Mexico? Because I love the GB60, and if we were just looking for a really nice mid-bass, that'd be the way to go. It is expensive. Dyna Audio is crazy expensive. So, but it's just, the thing is it's just, they're never going to be a subwoofer. There needs to be a subwoofer. When setting distance for an internal DSP on a JVC on the front stage, should you set the distance for the 2.5-inch speaker or the door speaker when they are tied together? So we did a video not too long ago. It was like a part 8 of something where we showed you how to tune the radio. I think it was 2 cars ago. And we took you through the whole process of how to use the polarity pop track and adjust for that. The problem is it's a radio. It's never going to be as accurate as you'd hope it could be. Distances typically don't work all that well on those. So what we typically do is, what we do is put it to the driver's side, reset everything to 0. We play the Sheffield Labs My Disc Polarity Pop track that goes pop, pop, pop. You've heard it in the videos before. And you adjust the driver's side, okay, not even looking at the inches. You just adjust it, okay, until you hear the pop move into the center of the dash. Once you've done that, and it's got to be faded to the front, okay, fade it to the rear, repeat the process, start moving the passenger until it's basically pops somewhere behind you, which for you guys would be like right here. And then put it back in the middle, and you might have to do a little bit of tweaking here and there if the two don't, if you need to shift one or the other. But if you want to add some effect to the rear to make it, add some weirdness to the rear, add like a couple, like add equal distances to them. So add a little bit more delay to each one of them, just a little, not a lot. And that'll make it sound kind of theaterish, I guess is the easiest way to say that. But I don't even, when doing a radio, I don't even bust out a tape measure because it's never right, and it's just a headache. I will say this, that JVC Kenwood does a really good job of giving you a default in the radio that sometimes sounds really good, but if you're planning on resetting it, put everything to 0, because trying to adjust from there, it doesn't work all that well. Hello. If it were you, would you choose 2 Mosconi Pro 530s with Mosconi 8-12 aerospace or the Mosconi 830 with a 110? So we just did, when we did Todd Ramsey's build, we did 2 530s with an 8-12, and then we did a Pico for the center or for some of the speakers. I don't remember which one the Pico was for. I would do the 830 and a 110. I like the simplicity of the 830 and the 110. I like the 110. I think it's a tremendous amount of bass. And I don't know. For me, the 830 and the 110 seems like a much better way to go. It's newer, uses new technology. Yeah. So I'm going that way. And that was the question, so I get to do that. Focal flax mid bass, properly amplified, and doors sound dead and get low. They do, but they're not a subwoofer. Okay, keep that in mind. The question was something so I don't have to put a subwoofer in the car. I mean, years ago I had a Porsche come in, and there was no room for a subwoofer. And you either have to go buy the little crappy thing that goes along the center console or on the rear deck, or tons of money to put something in. And the guy didn't want to do that. So we went with a set of Kevlars, 3-way set of Kevlars, tons of power, and sound treated the shit out of it. I mean, it was the best you could possibly be. I mean, it took us like 3 days to do this install. And at the end of the day, even with the Kevlars, it played low, but it just didn't have the impact that you would hope from a subwoofer. And the customer, we still talk about it. He's still a customer. And he's like, dude, yeah, we just never got that car to be right. And I was like, yeah. And then Ada also said the 830 and the 110 would be a better move. So definitely want to do that. Moving on. Downfiring subwoofer boxes sound good. Typically, the problem that most people do with the downfiring is they don't put enough distance between the downfiring speaker, like the vent that you're hoping to create. If the speaker is sitting on the floor, it needs air. It has to breathe. And that is the problem. Like even that company, the Kicker started to add feet to the downfiring boxes to raise it up another inch because it needed it. And we did one the other day and we were like, holy shit, this sounds so much better. So yeah, keeping that in mind is the most important thing. Anytime you could tuck the subs up into the box and get a bigger gap between the floor and the sub, it will sound better. It's a Porsche. Okay. What's the best 12-inch subwoofer for an '08 TL, JL Audio, or Kicker? Those are two great subwoofers. It really just depends what you're looking to do, right? I mean, there's no way to say, oh, you're going to get, this is a whole, if you're not on my team, you suck. JL makes a fabulous subwoofer. Kicker makes a fabulous subwoofer. JL makes a great loaded enclosure. Kicker makes a great loaded enclosure. JL makes entry-level subs. Kicker makes entry-level subs. So it's just a matter of what is going to work for you. Price, performance, that's really it. They're both fantastic. It's just a matter of how much you want to spend, because you can spend a lot on both. Kiss Lock 2. Have you any experience, any random remote out not working, works now and then, doesn't later? I don't use that product. I can tell you that right now. If I'm going to do a high level to low level adapter, which I don't do all that often, but if I am, I'm not doing that one. I'm not going to do it. Typically, if I need something like a Kiss Lock, the amplifier I'm using has a better version of it built in. So I'm just going to go directly into the high level section on the amplifier I'm using. If it doesn't, then I'm either going to use the AudioControl LC1i, or I'm going to use the key lock to do some actual de-equalization. It's very important that you buy a high level to low level adapter that is what you're looking for, meaning what you're trying to do, not just settle on something like a Kiss Lock 2, which is perfectly fine. Like Tony D'Amore's tested it. It's great frequency response. Everything about it is cool. It's not the issue. It's just I'm not going to use something like that. Now, if you're like, I got it, what do I do to fix it? There again, it might not be cost effective, and that's the other problem why you just buy a better one, because what it's going to take to fix it, you could have probably gotten a better high level to low level in the first place. But something like an Ignition 3 that will create an accessory using voltage, but it will only play when the engine is running. Not a bad thing. But that's from PAC ING-3. Was a great piece. Or they also make the TR4, which the TR4 is DC offset, but it allows you to go to different. It allows you to connect to anything that's a low voltage trigger. So, for example, not every speaker has good DC offset. Okay, so like for example, in a Ford, before the iData DSR1 was compatible in there, we would have to put a TR4 to the center channel because the center channel's DC offset worked. The sides, they didn't. They do what you're talking about: turn on, turn off, do all kinds of crazy shit, and just cause all kinds of problems. So, yeah, I don't know if that helped, but maybe. Sorry, I tried. I have one of those giant Sundown 15-inch woofers downfiring with a 4-inch gap from the floor. Would you consider that enough space? Yes. Yeah, that thing's got to sound awesome. Like, oh my gosh. Used to do a lot of that, not the Sundown, obviously, but would do 412s downfiring in pickup trucks, 410s. A lot of those were, yeah, and it's just like, because, you can go up as high as you want for the most part in a lot of these, but yeah, downfire, because essentially what you're doing is you're horn loading the subwoofer, right? You're creating a horn. So like sometimes you'll see guys, they don't do it as much anymore because now everyone's doing like these weird free air walls that just have a slit. But back in the day, you used to see these horn loaded subwoofer cabinets where it'd just be an array of subwoofers and then a top, and it would just look like this, and it's just this slit of sound that would come forward, and just the sub would just kill you. It was fantastic. But if you look at like a subwoofer, like one of the, I sat in a Tahoe, or I don't know what the hell it was, at SEMA, not this year, but last year. And the guy had just a ton of subwoofers, and they were all tall, and then he had a top on it. And it's essentially the same. If we flipped it upside down, it would be a downfiring enclosure, right? It's just top firing. So it's all perspective, I guess. But yeah. Okay, I don't even know. I'm going to try. My battery manufacturer indicates that the battery has a 5 to 7 seconds, 285 amp surge, and 100 amp constant. Yes. I've clamped the output and rarely have I ever hit more than 150 amp burst. Understandable. Or 60 amps constant seems fine. Thoughts? That makes the most sense. Yeah. So, yes, a lot of the times what we think these things are doing and what they're actually doing are two totally different things. Um, in a car, especially in a special, like as opposed to on the bench, like when you do dyno stuff. Dyno stuff isn't what a car is going to do, for sure, because you're going to be limited by the car and you're going to be limited by a lot of things that just get in the way. Plus, if you're playing music, music performs differently, you know. So, yeah, that seems 100%. Yes, that is acting the way it's supposed to. We've actually debated. We were talking about the fuse earlier, like the size fuse that you would really need. You know, yes, you could clamp it and figure out. So, like if you have 300 amps of fusing in your car, the reality is you probably only need 175 amps of fusing in your car, which would be better because the 300 amp fuse is pretty much useless in most applications. But yeah, 60 amp constant. Yeah, so you could probably, you just need something to handle the surge, which depending on the type of fuse that you use, there again, just because it is hitting 150, you could probably put a 100 amp fuse in there because it's a fuse is time, right? It's not going to blow just like that as soon as it sees that load. There's a certain amount of time, and how long it takes in order. Now, will the fuse eventually get tired? Probably, but hey, you know, I still wouldn't lose any sleep over it. All right. Do I need a kicker key lock for a 22 Camry? No premium. Or can an Audison Forza AMF 814-bit amp perform the DEQ and everything needed to get great sound without key lock? Okay, so the answer to the question is no. All you need is the AFM 8.14 bit in order to do everything that you need in this car. However, there's always a however, right? Because nothing is ever as easy as it seems. I'm just going to put this up here because this would be my choice, an 830 Pro. Okay, so, okay, how hard do you want it to be, right? So, is there de-equalization? Yeah. Is it great? It's okay. Ken prefers to do it on his own because he's like, I can just do it faster and better. That's Ken Ward. You know, he is. He's freaking awesome. But if you don't want to deal with the de-equalization portion of it, meaning you're just like, you just want to get in and do the equalization portion of it, the key lock will save you time because the key lock will do a better job. So you can slap the key lock in, play the test tones, hit the magic button, and roughly 10 minutes, be done. And then you'll be done. You won't have to do anything. Now you can EQ it. So it really just comes down to how much time you want to put into it. So if you want to save yourself the heartache of letting a superior auto EQ work, auto de-equalization work, then do the key lock and just be like, yay me. But yes, the amp will do it. Okay, almost 10 minutes. All right, I'm going to just scroll and we're going to work back. Fans love 8 tracks. Who doesn't love an 8 track? I got a couple at home. Do I set DSP to 0 and then set my amp gains, then turn up my mid-range? It sounds echoey. So I always keep, DSP-wise, I always keep my gains as low as humanly possible. I try to do as much adjustment in the DSP. So, like, just increase the output in the DSP if possible. That's where I prefer to do all my adjustments because it's just easier to adjust it from the DSP than to have to keep turning dials all over the place. So I would use the DSP, keep the gains on the amplifiers down, and use the DSP as your tool. Do everything That was exciting. Shout out to Paul. Okay. I'm back. Sorry. The battery died in the camera. Don't even get me started. Aliens just took Dean. Oh, that would be so much fun, right? Who doesn't love a good alien abduction? I'm just kidding. I don't want to get abducted by aliens. Okay. Fair enough. Thanks for... I used the Lock Pro and the Kiss Lock. Kiss Lock 2 is unreliable. And easy enough to take. That $17 as a loss. I appreciate your input. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Do I set? Okay, got that one. Sorry. My Pioneer double din won't fold its face down to allow me to eject the CD. The option to do this is grayed out. I'm using a parking brake bypass. Have you dealt with this issue? The parking brake doesn't control the CD, so that has nothing to do with it. If it's grayed out, that's kind of weird. So no, that doesn't make sense at all. Okay, the question I would ask is, did it work before and it stopped working, or has it never worked? If it's never worked, it might just be mounted bad. If it's worked before and stopped working, it could just be bad. So, yeah. 2023 Camry with JBL speakers. Can I use a D6 1200 from AudioControl to power all of it? And which kind of speakers should I buy as far as front and dash speakers or components? All right, 2023 with JBL speakers, the D6 1200 will only work the 6 front speakers. So you'll have to go what's called speaker for speaker. That's it. It does have 8 channels of input, so you can rub the sub into that and then rub the sub out. If you're trying to use just the 6 channel to power like the whole system, no. The 2023 Camry does not have an Amp Pro yet. However, it will. I'm told very not short enough for your time frame because you probably want it tomorrow. But within the next 3 months, we should see an Amp Pro for that particular vehicle. Right now, you would have to do, like, I would just tell somebody to wait. Just like start buying stuff. It's going to come. Life will be great. But you'll have to go after the amplifier with this right now. So you'll have to put 1 and 2 on the tweeters, 3 and 4 on the mid, 5 and 6 on the mid bass. Or if the tweeter and mid are connected, then that would be 1 and 2. And yeah, so anyways. So you could. But, and the other thing too is you probably need a center channel. If that car has a center channel, you're probably going to need something to retain the center channel because that's going to sound weird without it. It's because because it is more than likely upmixed. So, yeah. Great show. Hope Fernando gets back normal. Have a great day off with family and friends. I'm excited because it is the Super Bowl. I don't care who wins. I really don't. I think it's going to be wonderful. I enjoy watching the Super Bowl. I have a great time. If I get more, I need an alternator. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Have a great rest of the weekend. Let's go 49ers. You know, there are a bunch of people out there. I had some people come in today. They were like, we want the 49ers. I was like, really? Of course, then they use Taylor Swift as the excuse why they want them. I'm like, oh, that's kind of stupid. But current 2.5, 3.5 wideband going to dash 08 Travelers. Not Rockford. Kenwood. The C2 or C3 are my favorites as far as that goes. Reasonably priced, sound amazing. But if you are a fan of the Super Bowl and you're going to be watching the halftime show and all the other fun stuff, and you follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Facebook. You don't have to friend request me. You just follow me. It's way easier. You can either follow me on Facebook or you can go over to The Boring Life of Dean and Haley on YouTube, and Haley and I will be doing the live reaction to the Super Bowl halftime show, as well as after the Super Bowl, we'll go on and we'll talk about our favorite commercials and fun stuff like that. Because that's what we do. We're nerds, and we like stuff like that as opposed to the game. I'd like to thank all our sponsors of the show today Focal America, Moscone-America.com. Hey, if you're not following Moscone America on Instagram, make sure to head over there and give them a follow, a like, or whatever you do over there on Instagram, because they post a lot of cool stuff up there, and you can see a lot of cool Moscone builds and whatnot. So definitely head over to Instagram and like the page. You can also like it on Facebook if you like, but Instagram is way cooler, right? We all know. Fernando is sick, and hopefully he will be back Monday. That's the plan anyways. That's all I got for you. Yeah. Thanks for playing along with us today and putting up with my ability to try to read these and answer your questions. If I missed your question, don't worry. We'll be back here Monday, and we can give it another go, as well as you can always follow us on Instagram and watch the 5 Minute with 5-Star, where we try to answer as many questions as we can. We take it in the install bay and all that other good stuff. So that's all I got for you guys. You have a wonderful weekend. And yes, Christian, fade to black.